All right, welcome back to another episode of
Weathering the Storm.
I'm your boy Vince.
And I'm your girl Shannon.
And this episode, we're talking about something very important.
Yeah.
If it's important to her, then it's important to me.
That's right, you guys. We wanted to highlight the significance of valuing the things that your spouse or your partner values.
But before we get to that,
Yeah.
let's get these plugs out of the way.
Come on, baby.
Underscore Vince.
Love, lifestyle, and laughter.
You're listening to R&B Instrumentals.
Weathering the Storm podcast with Vince and Shannon.
Come on, baby.
Underscore Vince and Shannon at Instagram.
Make sure you follow us.
On Facebook, Vince and Shannon.
That's right.
Like and subscribe on YouTube at Vince and Shannon.
That's right. And make sure you guys are visiting our website at vincentandshannon.com, because on our website, not only can you do this, purchase our Weathering the Storm relationship devotional, but we got something special going on. You want to tell them, my love?
Yes, on November 14th
Uh-huh.
at 5 p.m. Set your calendars, set your alarm,
Yay.
put the date in your book if you need to. November 14th at 5 p.m. we are going to be in the clouds.
That's right. To all our cloud couples, we want you to come and join us on the rooftop here in Charlotte, North Carolina, as we will be signing our relationship devotional, Weathering the Storm.
Yes. All right, guys, let's begin.
All right, so we thought it would be a good idea to have conversations around valuing the things that matter to your spouse. I think sometimes in our relationships we become very comfortable and complacent. If you guys have been following us on Instagram and on our Facebook, we are, of course, posting our marriage tips, our Monday marriage tips, and we talked about becoming complacent in relationships. And sometimes that complacency leads to devaluing the things that are important to your spouse.
Yeah, even if you're not trying, it could still happen.
It could still happen. So today we just want to highlight just a few things that we found that couples do a lot, and in terms of like what they devalue. And encourage you, nudge you a little bit to, come out of that space or that place of not, seeing the significance of what's important to your spouse, and encourage you guys to weather that storm, because it's huge and it could really cause division in your relationship.
All right, to start out with, we're going to go with employment, career changes. Those things should be important to both parties in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to you single people too.
That's
Not just a
right.
marriage, in a relationship.
That's right. So me and Weathers, we actually have a situation that happened to us in 2013. If you guys watched last season, he was unfortunately kicked out of the military due to higher tenure. And as a result, we had to transition back to North Carolina.
And we did transition. Well, that transition was rough. Well,
Oh my God, it
like
was.
walking over hot coals,
Right.
barefoot.
But we weathered that storm because
We
my
did.
husband decided that, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to do my thing. And I knew that oftentimes when military members left the military and went to the civilian sector, your jobs are not really acknowledged.
They don't. It's not very relatable.
Right. So I knew that he needed a degree, and I was willing to support him in that. So you decided to do nursing, and nursing is a full-time job, y'all, all by itself.
Yeah, that was rough too.
It was very rough.
More hot coals.
So we decided that I would work full-time, and he was going to go to school full-time, and it was a storm. It was really tough, right, babe?
Oh man, super tough. Super tough.
But we did it. We got through it, and we are benefiting as a result of it. So I would just encourage couples, if you're going through a career change, typically when you go through a career change, there is that financial storm. It's tough, but if you communicate effectively
Makes it
through
easier.
that process,
Yeah.
it'll make it easier to manage. It doesn't make it easier. It's
No.
still a storm, right?
Yeah, it
baby?
doesn't make it easy, but it can be easier
To manage.
to manage. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
you can definitely do that. It's definitely doable for any couple,
That's right.
any relationship. Man, you can definitely handle that. All right, next we're gonna go with in-laws, relatives, family members.
That's right. You want to talk a little bit about how family, the pressures of family?
Yeah,
marriages?
so we had a circumstance that we went through when I got out the military. I should say we got out the military
Yeah,
because
both
my
of
wife was in it with me. So
That's right.
we transitioned back to Charlotte, and some things didn't quite play out as we thought they would. So because of that, we had to really, reevaluate and look at some things, not to get too specific, but it was a little rift between certain family members. And so we had to, really value what was important and what was not important, and we had to just move that way.
Right.
But it normally, what's important to your spouse should be important to you, especially when it comes to relatives.
Especially.
When you hear terms like in-laws or mother-in-law or stuff like that, it has like negative connotations, but there's no reason that it has
Well,
to.
I would say too, and I agree with you, babe, like when you hear the word mother and father-in-law, there's a negative connotation. But for us, we've always had very good relationships with each other's parents. But when we did transition back to North Carolina, there were, issues that, conflict in our relationships. But here's what my husband and I know. We know that he loves his mom and dad. I love my mom and dad, and we love each other's parents. Their relationship with us is very important. We hold it, to high esteem. So even though it was tough, y'all, we worked really hard to mend any brokenness, any damage that transition out of the military caused, because I want to have a good relationship with my father and my mother-in-law, and that's important to my husband. So it's gonna be as equally as important to me,
Yeah.
and so on, right?
Yeah, definitely. And coming back home, I wanted to make sure I had a strong relationship with her parents, because now we're going to be closer with them. More chances of seeing them and talking to them. So we know we had to build that relationship.
That's right. So we just want to encourage couples, even if you have a rift in relationships with family members, that doesn't mean that you just have to stop talking and it'll fix itself. It never fixes itself. You have to communicate through that. You have to work through it. You have to weather that storm.
You got to cross that bridge when you get to it.
That's right.
All right.
All right.
Lastly, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
Let's talk. Ooh.
Oh, I hit that falsetto.
What that's
You heard that?
I heard something. I don't know if it's a falsetto.
John Legend, holla at your boy.
Sound like a cat dying.
She don't see talent. She don't see talent.
I do, baby. You look real cute today. You are talented in dressing and looking right. But leave that singing to John Legend and them. All right.
Anyway,
Let's talk about sex.
Sex should be important to both parties in a relationship.
That's right.
Sex can also divide a relationship if it is not happening or if it's incorrectly happening.
And I'm going to tell you guys, like, we believe that intimacy is a huge part of a relationship because, of course, intimacy speaks beyond sex.
Yeah.
But I will say this, having sex does, bring you closer together. Like, I know that my husband and I, when we come together, like, it's like the icing on the cake. It's the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae.
Sundae.
You probably
Give
will.
me some ideas, girl. Yes. Won't he do it?
He will. You do the nice one.
Ooh.
But come on, love.
Just shut this down, girl. It's time to go home.
Come on, let's finish.
Okay.
So it's important that you have it because it really does bring us closer, and it doesn't like when we come together, babe. It cancels out a lot of different things.
Yeah, it kind of resets everything, cleanses the palate, works up a couple calories, a good workout, does everything good. There's nothing bad. Well,
Babe, give them the spiritual side.
oh, that was the spiritual side. What I do to you is spiritual, girl. What you talking about?
So true. So true.
But yeah, definitely. So in the Bible, in the Garden of Adam and Eve,
Come on.
the Garden of Eden, you will, they had sex. I mean, let's just be honest. They had sex. It was the first relationship, right? The first ministry
Yeah.
was the marriage, so to speak, of Adam and Eve. So how more important should that be for us when you see that's the first thing that God put as far as humans are concerned.
They were naked and unafraid.
Naked and unafraid.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, God created Adam and Eve. That was the first true ministry, first true marriage, and they were in their garden. Now, in our devotional, you guys, we talk about protecting your garden, and the one way to protect your garden from the wiles of the enemy is through intimacy, is through sex. Do you know that when you're not intimate with your spouse, when you're not having sex with your spouse, you leave room for the enemy to creep in? And it's not even just but so that your spouse can go out and be with somebody else. it's far beyond that.
Yeah.
When you're not making love, when you're not coming together, you do far more damage, because it's a couple things it does psychologically. When your spouse is not trying to have sex with you, first of all, it makes you feel unwanted, right?
Yeah, that's one.
One reason it makes you feel unwanted. The second thing it makes you feel like is, am I not good enough? Like that messes with you emotionally, right, babe?
Yeah, definitely. It also can, like my wife said, lead to a division between the two, and when that division happens, it can lead to some other stuff happening. Like if we're not doing it, like my attention is not going to be on my wife.
That's right.
So my attention could be somewhere else, and then that certain person or certain thing could come around and catch my attention.
Yeah.
So now my attention is focused on that, all because we weren't doing it.
We're not doing it. That's right. Let me tell you what the Bible says in Matthew 10:30. This is how he feels about us, right? Because he loves marriage and relationships so much that he fashioned his coming as a marriage. He said, I'm coming back for my bride. So if God cares so much about marriage and relationships that he would even, name that his coming back a marriage, how much more should we look at marriage and relationship and family? So he said, the very number of your hairs on your head are numbered. That is meticulousness as to the top. Like, God is so meticulous. He numbers the hairs on your head. That's how much he cares for us. That's how much he is looking at us and thinking about us. So we should be doing the same for our spouse. What is important to me should be important to you. What is important to you should be important to me. That's how important we are to God. So if we are in this marriage together, why aren't we in that mode? Why are we in that thought process that it's that important to me that I give you me, and you give me yourself?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely what the goal, right? That's what you be shooting forward to. So let's have sex.
Let's have sex, right? Okay, and here's the bottom line, right? When you love someone,
you should want to.
You still talking about sex.
Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad.
When you love someone, what they care about is what you should care about, right, babe?
Bottom line. If you hungry, you eat.
Right. If you're thirsty, you drink.
If you love, you care. You want to do right for that person and to that person. So if you don't think that you should be doing that, then maybe you don't love that person.
Maybe you don't. And to all of our singles, if you are presently in a relationship with someone who you're noticing they don't value what you value, you have a passion and a purpose to do something, and they seem that not to care about it, I might encourage you to take a step back from that relationship, or at least what you said, communicate first.
That I might be rolling out in about 10 minutes, so you might want to get it together.
Right.
And if it doesn't, then you roll out.
Right, because if you mess around and decide to marry someone who doesn't care about the things that you care about, when you're in that marriage, that situation will be magnified, much bigger, and you have bigger problems.
Yep,
right?
it will only get worse when
That's
you get
right.
married. Your problems, they don't get erased, they just get bigger.
Right, so we just named, in conclusion, you guys. Let's do a summation.
Ooh, summation.
Yeah, summation.
All right, career change, employment,
purpose,
passion. Yes, that should be important to both parties in any relationship.
Yeah.
Family, relatives, in-laws. It's another thing that should be important in any relationship.
Right.
And lastly, sexual encounter.
Entanglement.
Ooh.
With each other.
Oh.
Not nobody else.
Oh. Yeah, it wasn't no side chicks in the garden.
Tatianas.
So. No Tatianas in the garden.
Hello. So again, you guys, these are just a few examples. There's other things. We just wanted to share the top 3 for us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, baby. Well, thank you guys so much.
And don't fear the storm.
Weather the storm. Thanks, guys.
Hey.
R&B instrumentals.
Weathering the Storm podcast with Vince and Shannon.
Thank you for visiting vinceandshannon.com. To catch up on season 1, click the podcast button to be linked to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. To join our relationship enrichment class, grab a copy of the Weathering the Storm devotional, and information regarding our next class will be emailed to you. Thanks again.